Welcome back. Thank you very much for staying with us. Now, 4 South African airports have been awarded for reducing their carbon emissions. They were awarded certificates of recognition at the General Assembly of the Airports Council International Africa in Marrakesh, Morocco last week. Airports Company South Africa CEO Mpumi joins us now to tell us a bit more about this recognition. Ms. Mpofu, good morning and thank you very much for your time. Firstly, congratulations. It seems your efforts towards a more environmentally sustainable aviation industry has been recognized. Just talk to us about this certificate.
Thank you very much, Mpundo, and thank you to your viewers. What is really important about us being recognized for what is called the ACI Carbon Accreditation Program is that it actually has several levels for which we subscribe our airports and subject ourselves to the assessment that recognizes the efforts we have put in. So 4 of our airports in the previous year achieved level 2 accreditation, which basically means we have made efforts to adjust and introduce energy demand management and introduce some elements which are moving us towards decarbonization. And in our particular instance, gas to power projects, but also more importantly, our solar projects are actually assisting us in achieving this decarbonized future. Mm-hmm. These 4 airports which have been recognized will then be moving to a level 3 accreditation in 2027. The difference between level 2 and level 3 is that at level 3, we're able to basically incorporate all of our ecosystem stakeholders, and that means the airlines, the ground handlers, the fuel suppliers, the retailers, and everybody else on our platform actually then has to comply with the requirements of ACI. It is the airports of Oliver Tambo, Cape Town, King Shaka, and Chief David Stearman that were awarded this very important recognition at ACI World Assembly this year.
Mm-hmm. And how costly has this transition been? Though it's been in bits and pieces that you're making it very gradual, but nevertheless, how costly has it been to make these changes insofar as your technology is concerned?
Initially, I think in the first phase, getting us to level 1 and 2 has not been significant investments. I think when we start moving to level 3, 4, and 5, we would be able to basically seek support both from our government and importantly from other stakeholders to make the necessary infrastructure investments in order to achieve those standards. You would recognize that as we move towards decarbonization, we have to realistically make significant infrastructure investments, particularly in the transition to non-carbon based fuels, energy, and more importantly in South Africa. Our experience from last year from the floods taught us that we've got to think about broader than just decarbonized energy sources to substitute carbon-based electricity and move towards all services. During the floods, we suffered tremendously from 2 areas which were not anticipated as a result of climate change. One was water in our King Shaka Airport, where the supply of water was curtailed by the ravishing impacts on the infrastructure. The second was fuel, with importantly the railway line being decimated by the floods again, and therefore alternative fuel then features prominently in our list of priorities as we move to a decarbonized future. And that means we have to find alternative fuel sources. We have to move gradually, initially via a hybrid model, but eventually through a full decarbonized future towards 2050 in South Africa.
Mm-hmm. And then to another one, we've seen many on social media complaining about the state of some airports. Is there a plan for their maintenance? What exactly is the status here? I'm sure you've seen some of those complaints.
Yes, we have. And I'm very happy you asked that question because we've been really at pains to explain this to our passengers and most importantly, the public and our stakeholders. All airports across the world have taken measures guided by ACI World and ACI Africa to basically reduce costs in their operation environment. And that's how we've all survived. That's how we've managed to keep airports open despite the damaging, ravishing effects of COVID, where we've lost 61% of traffic from 2020 to compared to 2019, but more importantly, billions and billions of rands have been lost. So how do we survive? We've survived by actually looking at prioritizing safety and security operating systems. And by so doing, that means we're not able to give the same level of priority to operating systems that basically are supportive rather than critical safety and security. So most airports across the world, and I've traveled recently to prove the case, we've taken the people movers, which are the systems that basically assist movement, kept them to a minimum, mothballed a lot of them. People are complaining about travelators not working. It's not inefficiency, it's cost cutting, a simple measure of cost cutting until traffic returns. As our revenues increase, and I can indicate we are now, as South Africa, at 72% recovery, as our revenue increases, we'll basically be able to invest more money. We have a specific program, though. We know that December is coming. We saw what happened in June, in the summer in Europe, where the airports were not ready to receive those big numbers, and they suffered tremendously, both in queues and just what looked like a level of disorder at our airports. We've learned the lesson from that. And what we learned is that we are now preparing for our December peak by investing and improving those environments, bringing back the little revenue that we benefited from the 72% recovery that we're at, reinvesting that, cleaning up the environment, commissioning some of the systems that were actually not working, and generally improving. We've had transition of systems that have created headaches for everyone. Our parking system, and the reason for that is because we're introducing a brand new parking system that's going to be linked to an exciting high technology app that makes the business better. So in the last days of the old system, unfortunately, our passengers have suffered in that transition. King Shaka Airport has already implemented a new parking system. We should see that in OR Tambo. But we're planning tirelessly for December to ensure that as we peak our numbers with the December travel, we're able to basically unveil a much better airport environment. But I still caution, please work with us. These are not deliberate acts of negligence on our part. It is driven by a slow recovery from COVID. And as we prioritize different environments for improvement, we do so driven by traffic and, more importantly, by the revenue we're able to generate. But we will never compromise safety and security because that is critical. So when we compromise on support systems, please work with us. We're really trying to recover as we go back to normal. The anticipation is we'll be back to normal by 2024, generally across the globe, and some countries will be better than others. But importantly, in South Africa, we can start seeing our domestic aviation improving. We did have a little bit of a glitch with Comair being liquidated, but more importantly, now we're starting to see the other airlines put new aircraft into the system, and that system is generally improving. The other issue that people have suffered is high cost of tickets. Yes. Even that's going to start declining now with the added aircraft, and that's basically an issue of supply and demand. But a lot of the airlines, we've engaged them in the last 2 or 3 months intensively. They are bringing in new aircraft, and you see frequencies increasing, and therefore travelers enjoying a much more pleasant experience as we move towards December. But we're not sleeping. We're planning for December because we don't want to be kept. We don't want to experience what Europe experienced with baggage getting lost, unending queues. And they just generally could not anticipate the surge of what we call revenge travel by passengers. But we've learned, ours comes later, we've learned the lessons, and we really, really are committed towards a better experience at the peak period.